bought this car back in 2005 from a guy that was in a small town just west of me, about an hour west of me. I had an 86 NA car that I loved. It was my first car. Did everything you could, imagine doing to it. All the HKS parts they had in the book. It was fun, but it was never a supercharged car. So after making it through high school and college, I started looking for a supercharged car. So I found one. I bought it. I got it home. Drove it about 85 miles and got the bright idea to tear it apart and start rebuilding it. So over the next, it took me 5 years to build it because I was just doing it on and off on the side. I had a full-time job and got married and had kids. So it was a long project. But anyway, it's got a lot of good parts in it. It's got the whole bottom end was built by a local guy here that builds all the super motors for all the high horsepower guys. So it's been gone through. It's got new OEM pistons in it, all new OEM rings. I mean, everything OEM you can put in it, oil pump, water pump, the whole nine. It's got all the good stuff in it. It's got all ARP bolts in it, ARP main studs, rod bolts, head studs, flywheel bolts, pressure plate bolts. I mean, anything you can put ARP in it, it's got. I went a little overboard. When I started building it, I was single, had a lot of money on the side just to throw at it. So it's got all the good parts in it. On it. The motor's been balanced, so it's all done. The head, he did just a light port and polish on it, nothing fancy. Just kind of smooth it out more or less. So it's pretty much stock. It's got Web 101 cams in it, which in hindsight were probably a little too big for a street car. They do okay. It's just a little choppy around town. It has a hard time idling. They're great for getting all out. But the car was built for road racing. Unfortunately, I've never done any road racing in it, so the drive line is pretty much built. There's the only thing I didn't get into was the transmission. I just didn't want to mess with it. It's fine. It has the third gear crunch in it, which they all do. I don't shift it fast enough to ever have it crunch, so it's not that big a deal. It's got AMSOIL fluid in it, so it doesn't crunch real bad anyway, but it still does it where I bought it. The original owner autocrossed it a little bit, so it's got Tokico 5-ways on it. Other than that, the suspension is stock. I do have a set of t.e.d. springs that I never did put on it, and it probably, at some point, some new shocks put in it, but I just never messed with it. So brakes are stock. Didn't really mess with the brakes. This was all kind of stuff I was gonna do, but I just switched gears. But it's a pretty fun car. It'll move. I mean, it doesn't weigh that much, and it doesn't have a ton of horsepower. It's got an oversized pulley on 180 millimeter pulley on it, so the boost is up a little bit. With a larger intake track that I have on it, I got 2.5 from the filter all the way to the motor, so it loses a little bit of boost there, and with the cam. So with the bigger pulley on it, I'm running about 12.5 pounds, but it runs pretty good. It could use a air-to-water intercooler on it. If you beat on it pretty hard, it'll heat soak, and you can tell it'll cut down on power, but it still runs pretty good. I really have no complaints on it. As you can tell by the noise, it's pretty loud in this thing. I didn't do any sound deadening, anything like that. I figured it was going to be a race car, so the motor's pretty loud, the exhaust is pretty loud. It's got a MagnaFlow muffler on it, a 3-chamber muffler, but it's got 2.5 piping from the t.e.d. header back. It doesn't have a cat on it. Actually, it didn't have a cat when I bought it, so I didn't put one back on it. But it runs actually really good. So I relocated the filter to the engine compartment. It's got a K&N style filter on it in the engine bay, so the whine is pretty loud on it. So yeah, the whine's pretty loud, so you can hear it. Makes a lot of noise. But it runs pretty good around town. It just stop and go is really not its forte. It doesn't like that much. But once you're moving, it's fine. It doesn't have any problems. The cams are smooth as butter. It does have a Clutchmaster Stage 4 sprung clutch in it. It's a pretty serious clutch, but it engages pretty smoothly. It's got the Fidanza flywheel in it, so it's a pretty light setup. Again, a good around town. I mean, I personally wouldn't want to daily drive it every day because I'm just not at that point in my life anymore. So I'd like something a little smoother. But I mean, I suppose you could. In my younger years, I probably would have. Try to be a little quiet going through the neighborhood here. This thing is pretty loud on the outside. It goes through the gears pretty smoothly. It's a little notchier than stock. The throttle's a little touchy, but it's mainly due to the fact that the intake tract is so much bigger than stock. I went with a bigger NA throttle body on it, so it's not bad for what it is, though. Actually, going by the guy's house who got me stuck on the supercharged cars when we were in high school. I had my NA car and he had his supercharged car, and I rode in his car one time and I was hooked. I had to have one. So, and funny thing is, it is almost identical to this car. I think his might have had leather seats in it, but this one has cloth, but it was pretty much identical.